Hi everybody, I'm doing this series to kind of help walk you through the essay writing process for our Hammurabi CER. And so everybody's going to have access to this slideshow here. It's called Hammurabi's Code Digital. You can do this either digitally on your Chromebook, that's totally fine, or if you'd rather, I do have paper copies in the classroom. This would live in your mailbox. If you need to bring it home in a folder, that's totally okay. I'm doing both just so if you don't like your handwriting, then you can put this in digital and then it'll be a little bit smoother. Or if you're like, wow, I'm a paper person, work on paper. Either one works for me. And so we're going to have an analytical question asked by this mini Q throughout the whole process. And our mini Q, this is our essential question. You've probably heard about it in ELA before, but this is our essential question. And so we're looking at the Code of Hammurabi. Was it just? And you're probably thinking, what do you mean, just what? But when we look at terms that we need to be defined, so terms that we need to know a little bit more meaning of, we're going to look at that word just. Think of the word justice, justified. So in our sense, we're going to be looking at the word just as is it fair? So in your second box here, I think I'm on page, we're going to be jumping around throughout this whole process. I'm on page 8. And so we're looking at the word just, that equals fair. So we all know what the word fair means. And so we're going to be calling it, is it fair? So now we're going to rewrite our question in your own words. You can be close to this. You can use this word for word. That's okay. This is the beginning of our writing process. And so it's going to be a little bit more intense at first. So we're going to look at the Code of Hammurabi. Was it fair? Not far. Was it fair? And so we're going to be looking through this whole process. So at this point, hopefully you have these 3 boxes filled out on page 8. I know I'm going a little fast, so if you need to take a minute, pause the video, do that, absolutely do. So now that we have this and we kind of have an idea in mind of what we want to do, we're going to go up to the top of our thing and we're going to start looking at this background information. And so you can either read this on your own or I'm going to be reading it too in case you need to hear it. Remember we talked about hearing it with your ears, it sticks a little better. And so we're going to go through this document. So I'm just going to read it and then we'll kind of look at our information after. All right. So nearly 4,000 years ago, a man named Hammurabi became king of a small city-state called Babylon. Today, Babylon exists only as an archaeological site in central Iraq. But in Hammurabi's time, this was the capital of the kingdom of Babylonia. We know little about Hammurabi's personal life. We don't know his birth date, how many wives or children he had, or how and when he died. We aren't even sure what he looked like. However, thanks to thousands of clay writing tablets that have been found by archaeologists, we know something about Hammurabi's military campaigns and his dealing with surrounding city-states. We also know quite a bit about everyday life in Babylonia. The tablet tells us that Hammurabi ruled for 42 years. For the first 30 of these years, Hammurabi's control was limited mostly to the city of Babylon. We talked about those city-states. He was involved in what one historian calls lots of squabbles with other small kings in other small city-states, some of them no more than 50 miles away. This changed, however, with victories over Larsa in the south and Mari in the north. Hammurabi became the ruler of much of Mesopotamia. Hammurabi was not starting with a blank slate. Beginning around 3500 BCE, the Sumerian people had developed Mesopotamia into the world's first civilization. By the time Hammurabi took power in 1792 BCE, so thousands of years later, cuneiform writing had already been around for 1700. Hammurabi would eventually rule over an estimated population of over 1 million people. Most of his subjects were farmers. The people lived in city-states surrounded by fields and watered by irrigation canals that were fed by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. After his victories at Larsa and Mari, Hammurabi's thoughts of war gave way to thoughts of peace. These in turn gave way to thoughts of justice. In 38th year of his rule, Hammurabi had 282 laws carved on a large pillar-like stone called a stele. Not a stele. I guess I've been pronouncing that wrong. Together, these laws have been called Hammurabi's Code. Historians believe that several of these inscribed steles were placed around the kingdom, though only one has been found intact. Hammurabi was not the first Mesopotamian ruler to put his laws into writing, but his code is the most complete. By studying his laws, historians have been able to get a good picture of the many aspects of the Babylonian society, work and family life, social structures, trade, and government. For example, we know that there were 3 distinct social classes: landowners, free people who did not own any land, and slaves. The many farm and irrigation laws tell us that Babylonians depended on their crops for survival. The code also tells us of everyday problems like buildings collapsing, oxen getting loose and trampling fields, and neighbors squabbling, as much as they do today. Hammurabi tried to bring order and fairness to all. What follows are the 5 documents that provide a sampling of Hammurabi's laws. Some students of Babylonia have found the laws overly harsh. Others have found them to be quite balanced, given the hard realities of ancient life. In this mini-Q, you are asked to consider justice on 3 levels: fairness to the accused, fairness to the victim, and fairness and security for society. With this measuring stick in mind, read the documents and answer the question: Hammurabi's Code, was it just? So that's the one that we just talked about. So now that we have this information, what you're going to be tasked with today is answering these essay questions based on the background reading. This is like our day 1 activity. So start from here. I'm going to be posting videos about every step in this process. If you need any help, email me. Just ask, and I can get you some help. I will be reviewing these at the end to be able to make sure you have all of the right information before we start our essay writing process. Good luck, and I'll see you on the other side.